Joseph Vissarionovich Stalin, you have betrayed our nation and destroyed its people. I pray for your end and ask the Lord to forgive you. Tyrant.
Kuntsevo, March 5th, 1953, 2150. In the armored Dhaka, where the fate of half the planet was decided, the heart of Joseph Stalin stops. 4 days earlier, he had collapsed on the floor of his room without immediate aid. The victim of a cerebral hemorrhage and of a system that froze everyone around him. Outside, Moscow holds its breath. Inside, the dictator's body is already a battleground. Medicine that arrives late, loyalties that shift, and fear that rules even in silence. That coffin, its occupant made up with theatrical precision, guarded by endless lines, will be the curtain on an ending that began long before. To understand how it came to that night, we have to go back. To the midnight dinners, the endless purges, the Berlin blockade, the atomic bomb, the accused doctors, and the final move of those who were waiting for his fall.
Every morning, as usual, she brings him his dispatches. At 7 a.m., the dictator is still up.
After the victory over Nazi Germany, Stalin no longer ruled from the Kremlin, but from his fortified Dhaka in Kuntsevo. There he imposed a nocturnal regime, endless dinners, decisions behind closed doors, and a Politburo kept on edge. His health was cracking. Severe hypertension, hardened arteries, tremors, yet his control only grew more rigid.
Joseph Stalin was the ruler of the Soviet Empire from 1924 to 1953. Doctors and scientists collaborated to find this perfect location, which combined the health benefits of mountain and sea air, access to beaches, and healing mineral springs.
Lavrenti Beria, Georgy Malenkov, Nikita Khrushchev, and Nikolai Bulganin showed up without fail, weighing every word. Stalin's table was a stage of obedience and fear. If he laughed, everyone laughed. If he fell silent, no one dared to fill the silence. The line was repeated, "Without me, the imperialists would devour you." And the message was clear. Absolute power slept by day and kept watch by night. The war ended, but for millions, repression was only beginning. Repatriated soldiers and prisoners freed from German camps were screened, suspected, and punished. Tens of thousands ended up in the Gulag for treason or ideological contamination. At the same time, Stalin ordered mass deportations. Chechens, Ingush, Crimean Tatars, and Meskhetian Georgians were loaded onto cattle cars, bound for Central Asia. Were enough to empty entire villages in Crimea and repopulate them with Slavic settlers. In 1947, with drought and hunger advancing, the state prioritized exporting grain to the new allies of the socialist bloc. There were 1 million or more silent deaths without recognition. The political message was blunt: cohesion at any cost. In Eastern Europe, Moscow tightened the vice. Czechoslovakia fell through a coup managed from the Soviet embassy in Prague. Minister Jan Masaryk was found dead beneath a ministry window. In Hungary, Matyas Rákosi copied the Soviet model with purges and re-education camps. In East Germany, Soviet services opened special camps for reprisals. Sachsenhausen, renamed Special Camp Number 7, held tens of thousands of detainees and saw thousands of deaths from hunger and disease.
When suddenly the train stopped. For technical difficulties, traffic between Berlin and the western zones was banned. Cancelled timetables. Dead trade. Walls of wood and orders blockaded the city. The blockade even cut electric power and put off 75% of the lights. People used candle if they could find them.
In 1948, Stalin blockaded West Berlin by land. For 11 months, the Allied airlift sustained millions of Berliners while the Kremlin avoided a direct clash. It was a strategic contest, maximum pressure without firing the first shot. The atomic project advanced on two tracks: accelerated science and espionage. With leaked plans from the Manhattan Project, Klaus Fuchs and Theodor Hohl, Beria coordinated the nuclear race. In August 1949, the first Soviet detonation announced to the world another atomic superpower. At home, surveillance became routine. Microphones in the apartments of ministers and generals, secret reports that rose to Stalin's desk. Even Vyacheslav Molotov was humiliated when his wife was arrested, accused of Zionist ties. The state learned to listen to even the faintest rumor, and the rumor became evidence. Paranoia took a concrete name. 9 Kremlin doctors, most of them Jewish, were accused of killing leaders with false diagnoses. Torture, manufactured confessions, and an even darker plan: to deport the Jewish population en masse to Siberia. The cardiologist Vladimir Vinogradov, who had treated Stalin, died in prison. Medicine became a minefield. No one wanted to sign a bulletin. No one dared to say he is sick. The last evening began like so many others. Georgian dishes, red wine, strong vodka, a film in the private screening room, jokes that lowered everyone's guard. After 4:30 a.m., Stalin dismissed his men and went to bed. Then, silence. No one entered his room all day. Out of fear, out of protocol, out of habit. Only at night did the housekeeper and a guard dare. They found him sprawled on the floor, unconscious, breathing heavily, with signs of hemiplegia. Beria was notified. He arrived, looked, and waited. The hours passed without doctors. Perhaps out of political calculation, perhaps out of fear of making a mistake. When the doctors finally arrived, they diagnosed a massive cerebral hemorrhage. The medicine of the time and the same old fear offered little. Leeches behind the ears, cold compresses, drugs administered rectally. On March 3rd, the Presidium released an ambiguous bulletin. On the 5th, at 21:50, the pulse stopped. The autopsy was unequivocal: devastated arteries, an enlarged heart, multiple prior lesions. No poison, no conspiracy, only years in a body no one dared to care for. The body underwent accelerated embalming, formalin in the arteries, makeup to conceal suffering, mustache combed, hands crossed. The Hall of Columns was dressed in black and red. The temperature was kept at 12 degrees. Millions filed past the coffin. Control failed, and there were deadly stampedes in Moscow. Outside, T-34 tanks accompanied the procession toward Red Square. Malenkov spoke of continuity. Beria presented himself as an emotional heir. Khrushchev quoted Stalin with textbook distance. Molotov looked toward the embassies and promised the same foreign policy. The coffin descended into a mausoleum remodeled for two. Stalin to Lenin's right, under dark marble and golden light. The cult was frozen behind glass. Without Stalin, the system needed a center. Beria moved his pieces. He freed the doctors, reorganized the MVD, and made himself indispensable. Khrushchev saw it coming. In June 1953, during a Presidium meeting, officers under Marshal Georgy Zhukov burst in and arrested Beria in the middle of his report. In December came the firing squad after a summary trial with multiple contradictory charges. Then came reforms without a rupture. The MVD was split into separate functions. Thousands of repressive officials were removed, the informant system was reduced, and the Gulag began to empty, especially for lesser political sentences. Malenkov, without a base of his own, fell in 1955 and was sent to manage a plant in Kazakhstan. The architecture of power changed actors, not design. One-party rule, censorship, central planning, and selective punishment of organized dissent. The difference was in the method. Less everyday terror, more administrative control. Khrushchev's consolidation arrived with the secret speech in February 1956. Before delegates with no press and no cameras, he dissected the crimes, errors, and abuses of Stalinism with documents and testimony in hand. Copies circulated under control, but the leak abroad and its publication shook the communist world. In Poland, Poznan erupted in June. In Hungary, the October Rebellion was crushed by Soviet tanks.
While the battle is raging, you have to keep out of the way. But a tank asks no questions. And when a country is divided against itself, the plane flying overhead may be on your side, or it may not.
In China, Mao read it as a doctrinal betrayal, and the rift took root. Then came the symbolic erasure. Statues that vanished at night, streets that changed names, and, in 1961, Stalingrad recovering its geography as Volgograd. The most forceful act came in the early hours of October 31st. Stalin's body left the mausoleum in secret, through tunnels, and was buried discreetly beside the Kremlin wall. 2 days later, the shrine belonged again to a single man, Lenin. Books were rewritten, photos retouched, films pulled. There were rehabilitations for victims, but without a full opening of the archives or compensation. The system was preserved, while the leader cult was dismantled piece by piece. By 1961, Stalin was absent from the squares, the names, and the mausoleum. He remained, however, in the scars, in deportations, in case files, in the fear that shaped institutions and biographies. Physical death took 4 days of agony. Symbolic death took 8 years of deliberate dismantling. The system stayed standing. The cult did not. And with that, we reach the end. If you liked this video, we'll be waiting for you in our next release to keep discovering military history.